Welcome to the Land of Blast podcast, and today is all about getting out on the water with a rod and reel in hand. Fishing.
It's definitely Sam's jam.
I love fishing.
I just did that on the fly. See that?
I did. I like it. I like it. No, I mean, it's funny. Like, when I talk to people about fishing, and we were talking about this the other day, people have very different reasons why they go out and go fishing. And I didn't think about it until you mentioned it, because you and I were talking about the trip that you went on with Ben and some of the other trips you've been on. And you said that fishing is a social activity for you.
It is.
Can you, because I approach it entirely differently. When you say fishing is a social thing, what do you mean by that?
Let me say it's morphed into
Okay.
a social thing. So when I was in high school, I was obsessed with bass fishing.
Okay.
So there was a period of time where fishing was a passion.
Yeah.
I hit college, and especially now professionally, I only have X amount of hours to dedicate towards hobbies, passions, things outside of work, family, so on and so forth. So though I enjoy fishing, fishing is not something for me that made it above hunting or above shooting sports.
Sure.
And more recently above, some of the backpacking, hiking type things, which really is all about the hunting part of it. But so, for me, every month, I shoot with the guys from church, part of the security team. I try to do an occasional competition. I'm shooting my bow all the time. I'm shooting my rifles for hunting, practice stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm hunting, and I'm training to hunt, and all that stuff.
Right.
So right now in this season, fishing has become a very social activity for me. It's not something that is my first choice. If I have extra bandwidth, it's probably going towards one of those things, those other things I mentioned. But like Wes, my retired business partner, is all about fishing right now.
Yeah.
So it's a good way. I should be doing it more, but it's been a good way to connect with him. But it's also becoming a really good way to connect with my son.
That's huge.
That's why he and I just went on the backpacking / fishing trip up in the Cascades. So the discovery. When I was thinking about when you mentioned the fishing, I was like, well, it's going to be a little bit hard for me to talk about because it's not something that I'm super passionate about or nerding out on. However, I realize that it's got a great place in my life or heart or however you want to call it, because it's become a place where I connect with people. Like I mentioned before to you, I probably could have caught 50, 60 brookies last weekend.
It sounds like so much fun. It sounds awesome.
I probably caught 20.
Yeah.
Had another 15 or so on. I didn't land. So I probably could have had 75 on.
Sure.
If I would have really
been after
pushed.
it. Yeah.
But it wasn't why I was there. I was there to hang out with my son. I was there to test some gear out for hunting.
Yeah.
Because I was backpacking. And I was there, just to relax and unplug. Fishing was there with it, and honestly, it was a blast. I enjoyed it. But it was the secondary thing. The priority was hanging out with my son. Yeah. And he was enjoying it. So it was awesome.
Totally.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, I love the outdoors, so I'll fish. Yeah. And I do want to do some more guided trips on the Rogue and some other things. And again, those are going to be social.
Yeah, going out with buddies and hanging out. Yeah,
yeah, colleagues, buddies, whatever it might be, family. Definitely going to be doing more of it. But again, priority is the social aspect of it, or just to be an outdoors aspect. Yeah, I joke that when I get closer to retirement and hiking mountains really hurts, I'm going to nerd out on fishing like you wouldn't believe. I'm going to become a hunter of fish. Yeah, but until then, I'm going to keep killing myself in the mountains.
Heck yeah.
So, you, on the other hand,
I'm a fishing fool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny because you were, this trip you went on with Ben. So my dad was not a big outdoorsman, and he just, it wasn't his thing. But for whatever reason, fishing was kind of the middle ground. My uncle was a big outdoorsman, and that's really who helped me cut my teeth on the hunting side of things. But my dad and I would always end up going fishing, or if we were in a place where there was water, he would say, hey, let's go down to the store and buy you a little pole or something. He enjoyed participating in it with me as a kid because it was something that was low. I think it was just something that we could do together, low impact, but super fun, and high likelihood of some kind of success or good time to be had.
Sure.
And I think that's the reason why I'm so into fishing now, is because for me, I fish alone more often than I fish with other people now.
Gotcha.
So like most of the time, it'll be after a long day, especially in the summer when we have light until 9 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, if the phone's not ringing, I can load up in the car, drive a half an hour, and be on the water until it's dark. And I sometimes fish, as late as I can.
I used to fish till midnight when I was bass fishing.
Absolutely. And I started off bass fishing. Most of my fishing experience was split between the South and the East Coast. And so there was a lot of largemouth bass fishing, a lot of fishing in the Gulf of Mexico, kind of those intertidal waters, redfish, speckled trout, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like for me, I really got set into the bass fishing, set the hook, fighting fish type mindset. And when I moved out here, there were aspects of the fishing culture that I didn't fully understand. A lot of it from the hydrology and flows, different fishing seasons, the restrictions, like we were talking about, of some rivers are, you can't fish. Other ones have restrictions on
In last week's podcast.
In last week's podcast, yes. In the last week's podcast, we talked about this a little bit. But all in all, like for me now, fishing it's almost like a meditative practice, and especially because I've gotten more into fly fishing.
Fly fishing, I'm kind of interested. There's something different about fly fishing.
It really is, and there was a moment where I was fishing with trad gear and a fish.
Trad, traditional,
traditional, like spinning reels, casting reels, and things like that.
Spinners, bait,
all that stuff. And there was a moment in the past few years where a fish died on the line because of how badly it had set itself on the hook. And after that, I don't know, maybe because I'm getting a little older and maturing or something, there was something
soft.
Going a little soft, sure, yeah. There was something about that really irked me. Because I was like, this is a beautiful, strong fish that died inadvertently.
Well, you were doing catch and release, I'm assuming.
Exactly. The goal was catch and release. The fish ended up dying, and I was like, you know what? Let me back this up a little bit. Let me make this a little bit different. And that's when I dove into like the fly fishing side of things. And now it's almost like I've gotten much better at fly fishing because I put time into it. But the practice of going out there and I don't know, kind of like we were in the Train to Hunt episode, kind of like pushing yourself. The learning curve of fly fishing is fairly steep.
Yes, it is.
So like it took a year or two for me to get over the frustrating part, which was figuring out how to use it, and how to tie on flies, how to connect your tippet to your leader, all the different lines you're using and stuff. And now it's to a point where that skill set is established, but I'm able to go and kind of peacefully enjoy nature and reconnect with those memories that I have of like going out with my dad or going out with my uncle or people that aren't here anymore, and be able to be like, yeah, thank you. I'm able to enjoy this now as a result of the memories that I shared with them previously. So it was exciting for me to hear that you took Ben on this trip and then you guys had fun catching fish. Like it lit me up, man. Like it was just so cool to see. Like I love that. And so I guess my question to you is like, Wes is a big fisherman. I know he was your retired business partner. Where has fishing taken you? Have you gone out with Wes, or have you, like, I know you did this recent trip. Have you ever gone out in pursuit of fish specifically in places?
Well, like I mentioned, in high school, like as much money as we had, we spent on fishing during the summer. So
yeah, I didn't know this about you.
So I mean, we'd go up to 10 Mile Lake or other places like that. But I grew up about 2 miles from a lake that was a really good bass fishing lake. We would catch any night. We'd catch 10 to 20
nice.
In an evening, and generally, I think the biggest fish I caught out of there was around 8 pounds 8 ounces.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean, I could fit my fist.
Yeah, that's a monster.
Fun. Yeah, it was fun.
And these are largemouth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had at that point I had put I was fishing Lima glass rods. And not Fluger, but Shimano bait casting reels.
Yeah.
Like I got into it.
Yeah.
Like my dream, I wanted to do the tournaments when I was in high school. Never did it, but wanted to.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, it kind of disappeared. Now, recently fishing, it's taken me a couple places. Like I've gone up. We went up to up to Wallowa County with Wes.
Right,
When Evan was getting married, we went out, and that was a little bit of an adventure. We had some boat failure issues,
Yep.
but we caught some fish. It was fun. I've taken Ben for his 4th birthday. We went out with Wes up to Lake of the Woods and caught a whole bunch of kokanee.
Oh, that had to be a blast.
It was a blast. And now Maddie wants to go for her 4th birthday.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm going to take them this summer with Wes at some point.
Yeah.
Once or twice.
Good deal.
Go up to Odell Lake, which
Odell
Lake.
I will meet you out there. That is a heck of a body of water.
Yeah, and I mean some of the fish that Wes has caught out of there, some of those lake trout.
Yeah, the Mackinac. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking
Monsters.
Like 10, 15-pound fish.
Yeah.
But the kokanee is fun too. I'd never really done a lot of, done a lot of trout fishing, a lot of bass fishing, but never fished for like trophy fish in a lake. And that's been fun. Again, going back to the reason for fishing and getting the kids out and involved, and this summer, and as time goes, I just want to consistently, make available to them, use it as a social event to go spend time with, Wes and others like that, but also just get my kids out there.
Totally.
Because I know how much I enjoyed it growing up. I know my passion for the science or the art of fishing.
Yeah.
But I still love being in the outdoors.
Totally.
So anyway, you though, there's been no wane of passion.
No.
For the science.
No, and the
art.
Any of it. Yeah.
Fishing.
No, it's funny because when we were talking about doing this episode on fishing specifically, and I wanted to ask you about where you've gone fishing. I took a moment to kind of think about where fishing has taken me, and in all reality, like some of my trips have been like crazy improved by going out on a boat and going fishing. So like when I was in high school, I used to deadhead on a guided dive boat. So I would get free room and board and food. I would fill air tanks. But then when all the guys were on the dive, I had carte blanche to go spearfish around the Channel Islands in the coast off of California. And so like free trip, helped out, served dinner, but then shot more fish with a pole spear and spear gun than you could shake a stick at. And that was, I was like 16 years old, my buddy whose family owned the company, and that was our summer job. Fishing has taken me to South Louisiana. Yeah, I've, fished with hand lines behind slow-moving pongas in Belize for barracuda. Like the most recent trip last year on the dove hunt and the duck hunt that we talked about a little bit. There were some bucket list fish on that. I was the only, there was piranha on there, the golden dorado. I was the only one in my group that didn't catch a golden dorado, so I have a reason to go back to Argentina.
Perfect.
Yeah, it gives me that. But then, we one time we were really lucky enough to be invited to join this family on a trip to Africa to go on a photo safari when I was in middle school. And it's something outside the realm that my parents normally did. But one of my brother's friend's dads had lived out there and they put the trip together. Long story short, we ended up on this island called Lamu in these thatched huts where they had solar showers it was all open air. The food was amazing. It was wild. We ended up going fishing on the Indian Ocean on a small motorboat with hand lines wrapped around, 2-liter soda bottles. And you let the line drop to the bottom through your hand, you're holding onto it, and a fish comes on, and then you're wrapping the line around the bottle. And we caught, 3 or 4 fish, nothing crazy, but went back all again in the open air dining room, grilled up, served a few different ways. So for me, the fishing trips have been that perfect blend of, how I like to try to adventure and take part in different cultures. It's all been with my dad or my family or friends and stuff like that. And we make these memories in these faraway places. And it's like, if I'm traveling most of the time, there's a fishing pole somewhere in my bag. Or, when Erica and I first started dating, we went on a trip together and I ended up buying this little styrofoam reel thing. And so it's just, hand line, string, and a hook. And it's like, I can go fishing and have fun almost anywhere. And I don't know maybe it's because I spent so much time around the water as a kid. I think it's a great excuse for me to get out on the water again. And, like we talked about in our the live water podcast, the tranquility of it and the setting is huge. But at a certain point, I want to engage with it instead of, I enjoy sitting and watching, don't get me wrong, and listening to the babbling brook. But I do want to kind of get out there and play a little bit.
Yeah, I can't sit that long. I'm with you.
Yeah, I want to get out there.
I'm either going to fall asleep or I'm going to go do something.
Yeah. And so now you said that you bass fish really hard in high school. What does your tackle box look like now? Or if it's like, let's go fishing this weekend, what are you packing? What are you
I
bringing?
still got all the bass fishing stuff.
You do?
Yeah.
We need to go bass fishing. What are you talking about?
I still probably have dozens of cases of Gary Yamamoto Cincos and brush hogs and all that. I don't know if the salt's all worn off or where they're at.
Doesn't matter. Let's go
I
through
was
plastic.
I was looking at it the other day. I'm like, I've still got all the all the different twitch baits and different things and crankbaits.
My mind is like exploding right now.
Yeah, so I still have all that, but like when Ben and I, like with the kids, I've got a couple of like I've got the ultra lightweight kind of relatively inexpensive, Okuma or whatever the brand is, spinning rods for that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what the tackle box is, pretty much chock full of bass fishing stuff and a little smattering of trout and crappie stuff.
I love it.
But I have zero salmon steelhead setup.
Yeah.
I have, zero boating, anything.
Yeah.
I mean, just nothing but who needs that when you have Wes?
Exactly.
That's how I look at it. Like,
and when you have friends with boats and friends with tackle, you're set.
it's like friends with pools too.
Yes,
who needs a pool when you have a friend with a pool?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
I don't need that headache.
Yeah. I'm with you.
At some point, I'm sure, my wife isn't a fish person. So bringing home fish will get me in the doghouse versus get any kind of.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
So
Yeah.
she says, you can cook it yourself, just don't cook it around me. So
Wow,
she
okay.
like her body just rejects fish, like the smell of it, the taste of it, the whole
Okay,
thing.
so yeah, that makes more sense.
So yeah, the fishing, that's another thing I forgot about till just now that has kind of been a downer.
Sure.
So like when I go to the coast,
Yeah.
I'm straight for like a good cod or something.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm like, this is my chance to go
Yeah, I'm
fish.
gonna maximize this opportunity.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think probably the most fun in fishing that I would say my most fun trip right now is probably this last weekend with Ben, to be totally honest. There's something just about taking your kid out that I've never experienced before. Obviously he's 5 going on 6, been my first chance. But outside of that, just when we really were at the height of the game of fishing for bass, and it became something that wasn't a matter of like if we were going to catch fish, it was a matter of if we were going to catch something fun that day.
Yeah.
And the hunt part of it, I guess, really kind of came into be. That was
Absolutely.
probably the fun part for me. And I just remember, you catch, you'll be like a jitterbug. I used to fish jitterbugs and poppers and all that topwater stuff.
Yeah.
It was relaxation after dark, just, and then all of a sudden, boom, top of the water just breaks and fights on. Like that was one of my most fun things, was that evening, almost night fishing for bass. Like that was my favorite.
So I think you'll dig this. So when we would go down south, you'd get on, because everybody had boats down there, and you could fish the intertidal areas, like the inner waters, and there's bass in there. So there's largemouth bass, and you go out of the freshwater towards the brackish, and you start catching redfish and speckled trout.
Ooh.
But at night, you run out at like midnight, and you take your boat out with these million candle lights, and you put them in the rod holders, and you go out towards like an oil derrick, and you anchor, and you light up the water like it's a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And all of the bait fish rise to the light, and they'll start working the surface, and then the redfish and the snapper and all these big fish come off the bottom and out from the rig.
See, I'd be up for that adventure.
Absolutely. So you're going fishing at midnight, but you are smacking huge fish on light tackle at night under these lights. And there was one time where I was fighting this redfish. My uncle comes in with the net, and this big old redfish is rising as I'm reeling it in, and he goes, whoop, got it! And he's netted it. There's still a fish on my line pulling down somewhere underneath the boat. It was just some random redfish that came up to bite minnows on the surface that he happened to net. And we were like, oh, throw it in the icebox. Let's go. Let's get this guy on board. So it's, stuff like that, like the fighting fish, the bass fishing, like that's the stuff that I miss living around here. Like, and I'd love to pick your brain more about the largemouth bass fishing, because I still haven't found places to go and do that.
You got to get on the west side of the Cascades.
Okay.
You got to get in warmer climate. So, tiny segue into why I actually started bass fishing.
Yeah.
I used to trout fish, and we'd sit there and bait dunk, power bait, catch a
Yeah.
limit, go home. One day my buddy was reeling in a trout, one of those little dinker hatchery fish.
Yeah.
And a bass ate it right off the line.
Heck
Just ate it. And I don't think we ever fished for trout again.
Instantaneous love affair with bass
Instantaneous.
fishing.
We went to the tackle shop. There was a little backlash tackle in Grants Pass.
Yeah,
And
I
they had
love
all
that.
the bass fish and stuff. We're there. How do we catch these fish?
Let's make this happen. Well, that's awesome.
So
But yeah, no, I mean, and for me, like kind of like you were saying, like you don't have any salmon steelhead stuff. Like that's a new foray for me. I've have access to some of that through like family and friends. But honestly, the stuff that I want to do now, living out here, that I really want to like get better at is fishing for like the Mackinac, like that Wes is doing. But then catch salmon and steelhead and some of those big bull trout, like on the Mackenzie River, or not the the Mackenzie, and doing like fly fishing for those guys.
you ever fish for redband?
Yeah, I mean, we have redband in our streams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something you ever spend any time with? I know a lot of guys like it.
The redband, like the fish itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like the Fall River has a bunch of those. In
Oh,
there.
gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. And they fight. I mean, they're great. They're beautiful fish.
So what do you like? I mean, brook trout, redband. I mean, what's your favorite like fly fishing fish to chase?
I'll chase, honestly, like if there's a dry fly bite on,
Yeah.
it's the most satisfying thing ever. And I don't care if, honestly, like brookies are some of my favorites. I think they're beautiful. They're beautiful fish, and they even catch
fight hard.
Yeah, they're strong. Like, and I fish for those out in Colorado and out here. So like brookies are probably my favorite. But out here, yeah, rainbows and red bands on a dry fly. It's so much fun.
See, we don't have red bands in Southern Oregon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nope. I don't know why.
Huh.
I've never looked into it, but we don't have any red bands at all. In our streams we do have brookies.
Yeah.
Lots of rainbows. This is steelhead.
Yeah.
But yeah, no red bands down here.
Oh yeah, if you want to catch a red band, we'll go. I mean, it's the Fall River has them in there. They're kind of spattered throughout, but yeah, like they're just like almost like a house fish up in Central Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things I'm like, I want to catch one just because I've never.
Yeah.
never caught one.
Let's check that off your list. Yeah.
But yeah, the Mackinac though, I got to catch a Mac this summer. I
Yeah.
want to catch a Mac. That'll be fun.
Yeah. No, send me a picture when you do. I want to get
Just
out there.
come with.
Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, we've kind of touched on a lot of stuff today regarding fishing, but I think at the end of the day, living in Oregon, we have the coast, we have lakes, we have streams, we have rivers, and for me, like living up here, especially being able to catch Dungeness crab on the coast, all that stuff, lingcod, rockfish, halibut, and salmon if you want to, it's just opened a whole new category of fishing experience that you normally have to travel around a lot of different places.
Think about
to
what
find.
you can do within a day's drive. You can crab, you can ocean fish, you can blue ribbon fly fish, you can catch salmon steelhead, you can catch max and kokanee, like all the different things you can do if you lived in Bend or if you lived in Roseburg or Medford or wherever it is. Like you are, I mean, it's almost like a mecca of opportunity.
Yes.
If you want just like high mountain backpacking fly fishing, like you're probably Colorado or Montana or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you want variety, like I don't know how much better it gets.
No,
Maybe Alaska. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think Alaska is almost like its own animal.
It
It's like-
doesn't count.
No, it's just like the last wilderness or whatever. But yeah, no, as far as like
In the lower 48.
yeah, Oregon is like, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, it's one of the coolest states to live in and fish in. I think.
Yeah.
I think there's so many different
Well,
things.
I don't know any different being raised here.
Yeah.
But it seems like it to me.
Yeah, and I need to get after the coast and stuff a little bit more. But honestly, like I think, like you were saying, the opportunities out here, they just abound.
Well, think about it. If you did a week long, you could catch halibut, you could catch rockfish, rock cod, lingcod, crab. Like you could move inland and catch smallmouth bass, largemouth bass. You can catch salmon. You can catch steelhead. You keep going and catch a bunch of brookies and rainbows. And like in a week, you could catch 10 to 15 different species of fish.
Yeah. Yeah, and see insanely beautiful country while you're doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the backpacking thing with fishing is going to be a staple in my summertime routine.
Yeah. I'm going to have to introduce that to mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's worth it. Anyway,
Thank you guys. That's our little fishing podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, get out there, go fishing, move to Oregon, and catch a red band.
There you go.
Yeah, that's our sign off. See you guys later.